Okay, so we'll have a, okay, next set, okay, of the topic. So we go back to this. In statistics, so I hope you understand those, you have understood to those terms, okay? Now we go back to this. In statistics, a procedure of a randomized experiment is governed by the experimental design. So bumabalik tayo dun sa experimental design. But, okay, we have this term, randomized experiment. Okay, what is this? Yung ibang alam lang ay experiment, pero actually, it's a randomized experiment. Okay, let's see what is a randomized experiment. So take note first, if we have experiment, it is characterized by the following. Number one, presence of treatments. Okay, you know already what is treatment. Experimental units, okay? And by the way, the treatments are assigned to the units, okay? And by the responses that are measured. So you have these terms already, no? You are all familiar with this. The next is the randomized experiment. So it's an experiment where assignment of units to treatment groups are randomized. So there is this randomization occurring in this kind of experiment. So goal is to see the effect of the treatment while controlling for other factors. So you should have a good background again of your experiment so that you can control them, those other factors that can affect your outcome or response, so that you can focus on the comparison of the effects of the treatments that you really want to compare. Okay? I hope you get me, no? So you have to control so that you can focus again to other treatment levels that you want to compare. Now, present the strongest support to causation. So this randomized experiment presents strongest support. This means to say that this randomized experiment ensures us that the treatment is really have an effect on the outcome or the response. Okay? That's why we have to conduct this randomized experiment if our intention is really to compare. Okay. So we have these advantages of randomized experiment. Number one, it allows the setup of direct comparison between treatment of interest. So direct comparison. Okay. Next, minimize any bias. So na-minimize natin yung bias. Why? Because we conduct randomization. Next is we minimize the error. Actually, this is because of the experimental error or the replicates. Now you try to have more replicates or experimental error. Experimental unit, okay, to minimize the error. And then another is that the researchers are in control of the experiment. Again, you should have a good background para ma-control mo yung other factors that can influence the outcome. Okay. Okay, so randomized experiment must be performed using appropriate principles and design and techniques of experimentation. So we need to have these principles. We need to know these principles, okay, so that we are confident with our experiment, okay? And we need also to know those design structures so that we are confident with our experiment to come up with a valid conclusion. So what are those principles? Number one, replication. Number two, randomization. Number three, local control. So we start with this replication. So it's needed for the validity of the experiment. Okay. Is the repetition of the application of treatments on a number of experimental units. Okay, so repetition of the application of a certain level of treatment. Okay, again, recall again that we try to apply a certain condition or certain treatment level to several experimental units, okay? And then we expect that these experimental units must result to almost the same measurements or values, okay? So that this actually ensures us that we are getting the correct result or results, okay? That's why making this experiment valid. Okay, now, functions of replications to provide an estimate of the experimental error. So are you already familiar with this experimental error? And replication also helps the increase of precision of the estimates. And then increase the scope of the experiment. So if you consider many experimental units, and these experimental units have these inherent characteristics, okay, or conditions. And then if we use them, so we are also trying to, widen our scope. Kasi iba-ibang conditions sila galing. right? Okay, so that's the advantage now of replication. Another principle that we have to learn is randomization. Aside from providing the estimate, okay, of this experimental error, we also need to have this estimate to be valid. So if we have a valid experiment, we also have to have a valid estimates. So this can be done through randomization. So it's a process that ensures treatments will have an equal chance of being assigned to an experimental unit. Okay, so we randomize.